Another longtime NHL veteran is calling it a career. We have some more young prospects making their NHL debut. Carey Price is on the mend. Matthew Barzal has been fined. And we have a couple of good news stories to share as well. We'll jump into the latest coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, we have a variety of NHL news to discuss today. I do want to take a quick second, though, first to acknowledge our channel sponsor, Manscaped, where they've offered me some great products. They've been great to deal with. Absolutely top-notch customer service and product line. You can get 20% off and free shipping with promo code TSH for Top Shelf Hockey at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with code TSH at manscaped.com. Now, jumping into today's news, we got word today that longtime NHL goaltender and current member of the Anaheim Ducks, Ryan Miller, will be hanging up the skates and calling it a career at the end of the current NHL season. So obviously we know the Ducks are not in line for the playoffs this year. And he wondered if he would continue to play or how that was going to work for him. And he's made the announcement already here that this will be his final NHL season. Certainly fair to say that Ryan Miller is one of the greatest U.S.-born goaltenders here in NHL history. Not sure he's a Hall of Fame goaltender by any means, but certainly a really good career, a really solid guy here, especially his time in Buffalo was when he was at his absolute best. I'll never forget the gold medal game where he was the goaltender, of course, for Team USA against Team Canada in 2010 Winter Olympics here for the gold medal. It was one heck of a hockey game. He absolutely stood on his head. I'm sure he still has nightmares about Crosby scoring in overtime, but still, it was he's had one remarkable career, and it does sound like he wants to remain connected to the game of hockey. His comments said in the short term and long term, he sees himself being involved in some capacity. Sounds like player development is of interest to him, and even maybe not right away, but longer term, he seems interested in maybe getting into the management side of things as well and putting together a team. Maybe starting off as an assistant GM is the goal of maybe someday being an NHL GM. Hard to say what will materialize, but sounds like he definitely wants to continue to work and be connected to the NHL here once the season is over. So we'll see what comes from that, and certainly want to wish him the best of luck here into retirement. Now, some injury updates. We got word that Flyers goalie Carter Hart is done for the season. Obviously, the Flyers right now are not looking good for the playoffs. He's got an MCL strain, so his season essentially has been done. This has been a frustrating year for the Flyers and a very frustrating off year for Carter Hart as well. Certainly wouldn't hurt him to have some time just to kind of get away from things and kind of restart, refresh here, heal up from his injury, and kind of get going, getting ready for next year. I do wonder for that Flyers team what we're going to see for changes, as I do think that the team is much better than it showed this year, and I do expect some changes to be made. More likely with the roster than anything else. I'm not sure that we're going to see a coaching change. I would think a couple of trades to shake up the roster is more likely, but I guess we'll have to see. But Carter Hart's season is over. Montreal Canadiens goaltender Carey Price is on the rebound from his concussion. There's good news there on that front that things are progressing well. His most recent concussion test went positive, and he started his workouts here again. So there is some optimism that Carey Price could possibly get back in the lineup sometime within the next week. So obviously I know Jake Allen's been carrying the load here for the Habs. Hasn't been getting much goal support in front of him. The Habs have been on a bit of a downward spiral. As of late, haven't had the greatest results. So getting Price back should actually give the team hopefully a boost here. They're starting to have the injuries pile up on top of the losses, so it's not a good time for that to be happening here for sure. And we'll see here if Carey Price can get back into the lineup hopefully sooner than later. Now, as I mentioned as well, we had a couple of prospects I want to touch on here quickly. We saw the number 2 overall pick from the 2020 NHL Draft, Quinton Byfield of the Los Angeles Kings, make his NHL debut last night. Didn't get on the score sheet, but still had a pretty solid game. Played just a few seconds shy of 18 minutes, got 4 shots on goal, and overall seemed to have a pretty solid game. I didn't get to see the whole game. I saw a little bit of it, caught the highlights afterwards, and it looks like, he had an okay debut. And there was a lot of pressure on these kids when they don't score or, make an impact on the score sheet immediately. Some fans are a little restless that way, but be patient. This guy is an absolute monster, 6'4". He's been a guy that's been highly scouted from the Ontario area for a long time. There's a lot of confidence he's going to turn into be that number 1 center, and I think having a guy like Kopitar mentor him for the first few years while he's towards the latter part of his career will be an absolute blessing for him to get him where he needs to be. So he's made his debut now after a solid run in the AHL to start of the year. And we've also seen obviously Cole Caulfield play a few games down in Montreal. Hasn't lit the lamp yet. I know a lot of people were hoping that he would do so against the Leafs yesterday, but unfortunately he hasn't gotten there yet. But still, give him some time. Be patient as well. It's bound to happen. And we're also going to see Cole Lind of the Vancouver Canucks make his NHL debut in their next game here as well. The Canucks are on a bit of a losing skid after getting back to playing hockey after their outbreak with COVID. They got off to a really good start against the Leafs, and since then it seems like they've kind of run out of energy and kind of fallen off here, and they lost 3 out of 4 to the Ottawa Senators here in the last little stretch of games. So they're down now with Ottawa after beating up on Ottawa early in the season. Of course, the Sens are not the same team they were back in January and early February, and obviously they figured out a way to beat them 3 out of 4 times, and the game that the Canucks did win was still somewhat close. Obviously a complete change in the story there from the beginning of the season, but we'll see if Cole Lind can add a spark to the Canucks here as they're desperately looking to get some offense rolling and hopefully get back on the right side of the score sheet. Now, as I mentioned as well, Islanders center iceman Matthew Barzal has been fined $2,000 for embellishment or diving. Now, the play in question here, I honestly don't think he's embellishing, in my opinion. Not to say the players don't do that sometimes. It does happen. It's been a while since we've heard of the NHL handing out any fines in that regard. To me, it looked like he was clearly hooked. It was a non-call, and I find it quite surprising, but I know there are some out there that feels that he does this sometimes. I know the Islanders have been on a downward skid lately too. They need to really get things turned around. Unfortunately for them, their trade deadline acquisitions have not worked out at this point, and things are going in the wrong direction. They've got the Rangers on their heels with a couple of key games coming up here in the next few days, which is going to make things very interesting if they can't get on the right side of the score sheet and win at least the first game here against the Rangers coming up. But Barzal, obviously, he's fine, but I don't know. To me, I'm not really sure that it was justified, but let me know what you think down below in the comments. Now, before we close off today's video, I just want to have a couple of quick good news stories to show there's still some good people out there in the world. Obviously, Chris Johnston of Sportsnet. I want to commend him for all of his efforts. A year ago, when early in the pandemic, he decided to take up running again, and he's actually been quite a force. He's actually gone for a run 365 consecutive days, and he's obviously been working with a big charity in Ontario, which is titled Conquer COVID-19, which obviously is, obviously something we all need to do, and obviously something we all need to help out with. And so he's turned his passion for running into a charitable event where he was running a marathon today, raising money for that great organization. So he actually did it in record time for himself as well. Did it under 4 hours. He had a great time. I think he was around 3 hours and 40 minutes. I'm sure he's got some sore legs and some sore feet here today, but anybody who could be that dedicated to do that type of running, not only every single day, but to build it up to do that type of run is, absolutely amazing in my opinion. I know I wish I could run that much. It's quite a feat by CJ. I know he'll likely never see or hear this video, but I just wanted to recognize him for all of his efforts. Certainly great job to him. And another quick news story as well that I thought was really nice to hear is Jason Spezza of the Toronto Maple Leafs. We've heard that the Toronto Marlies players in the American Hockey League were getting some assistance from their NHL partners at the Leafs organization. Now, obviously, we know the AHL players don't make anywhere near what the NHL guys do because of the shortened season and everything. They were even making a fraction of that. Most of them are looking at an average AHL player this year going to be making somewhere around $30,000, which is not a ton of money really when you think about it. So Jason Spezza actually spearheaded getting his Leaf teammates together to pool a bunch of money to top all of them up. So they raised, I think it was just shy of $2 million. I think it was like 1.8. I can't remember the exact amount. That's not really the relevant point here. But the fact is that he took the time to come up with this initiative, talk to his Leaf teammates, obviously many of them which make tons of money or have for a long time, even guys like Spezza and Joe Thornton, Wayne Simmons, they're there on fairly cheap contracts, but still those cheap contracts are way more than the guys at the AHL level will make this year. And the fact that they're kind of looking at the whole organization, even at the minor league level, as one big family and trying to help them out. And when everybody's had an extremely tough and trying year, just makes you say, like I said before, that there's still some really good people out there. We always known that Jason Spezza is a good dude, and it's just further evidence that he really is a great guy, great teammate. And he came up with a great initiative there, and I'd like to see more NHL teams and their players come up with similar ones, because all those players in the minor leagues could really use some help. I mean, everybody's hurting a little bit, but the NHL version of hurting is nothing like the guys in the minors who really bust their butts every day, work hard for that dream to get to the NHL, and they're doing so for very little money. So nice on him to get that done, and I hope more organizations jump on board here as well. So let me know your thoughts on not only these stories, but everything discussed here in today's video down in the comments. We can discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news from around the entire NHL. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.